Critical Blast, where pop culture gets blasted.
And welcome everybody to another Critical Blast podcast. I am your host, RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at criticalblast.com, where pop culture gets blasted. But I don't say it nearly as well as that young lady does in the intro video, so maybe I'll just leave it up to her from now on. You are watching the Critical Blast podcast, the most unwatched and heavily clout-chasing channel that apparently has ever existed to promote comics. And tonight we are going to be talking with Scott Kysh, who has a crowdfunded comic called Wrath, and this is actually the second chapter of his book. So he's already fulfilled one, and that means that we know he can come through on a second one. Isn't that right?
That's right, and thanks for having me on your show.
Glad to do so. So while we wait a little bit for people to pop in here, because we actually do get somebody to watch the show sometimes. It's I'm being a little salty. I had some run-ins this weekend in the Twitterverse, and it was like I expressed an opinion and they expressed an opinion, and then it devolved down to nobody watches your show. I'm like, what's that got to do with the price of tea in China? But you know,
that sounds like a typical Twitter argument.
Yeah, it does. It was like two different arguments I had this weekend. And I'm like, why do I even come to this website? This platform is just poison. But it's where I find you guys at, so that I can invite you onto our stream and we can have people to talk about and talk to. So before we get into the actual book that we're promoting tonight, let's talk a bit about you and your comic book history. How long have you been doing comics, or been a comics fan, or both?
I just recently started doing my own comics about a year and a half ago. So this is my first project. As far as my history with comics, I've always been a Batman fan for as long as I can remember. But it wasn't until my early teens that I really had access to a lot of comics. Back in the early 90s, I don't know if you remember this, Costco used to actually have like the monthly bundles of DC and Marvel. So I would get the DC because I was the Batman fan, and then my brother would get the Marvel, and then we'd read our comics and then switch. That
sounds awesome. So put them all together in one bundle because it's Costco, and you buy everything in bulk that way.
Yep, and that was right when the Nightfall series was going on, or the Nightfall arc.
Oh yeah, the Bane story.
Yeah, and so that was like the first like big arcing story that I got into, and it had all the villains, and it was just really grabbed my imagination, and I really loved it. I went and got like an abridged version, but I guess they didn't put all the side titles in, so I was flipping through it, and I'm like, there's not as much as I remember.
There's a lot missing, and somewhere over here, I'm not going to get up and dig for it this time, because every time we start talking about a book, I get up and I go over and I get the book because I own it. I've got Nightfall in hardcover, the actual novel written by Denny O'Neil. So there's the the text novel, no pictures, adaptation. But I do remember Nightfall. I was not a teenager at the time, but I remember the discussions that grew out of it. That was quite interesting, because it was one of the first times that Dick Grayson was taking over the role of Batman for a long time, and he took it over before Azrael took it over, and there was a lot of fan backlash about why isn't Dick Grayson going to be Batman? He's the one who's been trained for the job, and DC was like, well, what they were really saying was, we can't lose the trademark on Nightwing because he's that character now. We need him to be Nightwing so that we can merchandise Nightwing things. And then when Bruce did come back, that whole narrative shifted over to, well, if he can recover from a broken back, how come Barbara can't recover from a broken back? And that got met with the whole, no, she can't recover from a broken back because we have representation now. It's like, Bruce could have been an armchair quarterback. He could have been the Professor X of the Justice League.
Well, he does kind of take on that role in Batman Beyond.
He does, actually, yeah. I mean, he's not in a wheelchair, but he's certainly not out there fighting anymore. He's directing somebody through earbuds and earpieces.
I think there were a few rare occasions where he stepped out, but not often.
He did. I think the best one he did for that one, and I cannot recall if this was an animated episode or a comic book, but there was the one where somebody was sending out hypnotic signals to the television, and it was subliminal messages, and one of them was, Batman, come face me at this certain position and place. And Terry showed up there, and Bruce Wayne was there in costume. And it was because, when it was over, Bruce said, yeah, I never stopped thinking of myself as Batman. So when an order came in for Batman to show up, I responded psychologically to it, which I thought was
That's
cool.
actually pretty funny. Yeah, that is cool.
Because Bruce Wayne was always the disguise anyway. Batman was who he was.
Yeah, definitely.
But eventually you got into wanting to make some comics.
Yeah, I had the idea for Wrath, and there were some things that were podcasts and stuff I was listening to about the name escapes me right now. The creator of Rick and Morty.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name either because I don't pay that much attention to animation anymore.
Yeah, and this escaped me. But he was talking, and he was doing an interview with Kevin Smith. And it was basically how he kind of got started in writing. It was him and his buddy who did Scud, the Disposable Assassin.
Oh, I love Scud.
Yeah, and so he was buddies with the writer-creator of Scud. And they sold it. I think it's Rob Schraub.
Yeah, Rob Schraub.
And so Rob sold the movie rights, back in like the early 2000s for like 10 grand. And so they used that money to move out to LA and rent out a place. And so they found out how much Rob got for the movie rights. And then they found out how much the guy who was writing the script was getting for it. So they're like, maybe we should look into that. So they just went down to the library, picked up a book on writing scripts, and then they did their first movie script, which was Monster House.
Oh, that was a good show.
And he basically just emphasized, like anyone can do this. If you have the idea, just get out there, put the pen to paper, and get your idea out there. Just write.
Yeah.
And I had that idea, and so I gave it a shot, and I ended up a new coworker showed up at work, and he had a small independent publisher. So I pitched my my Wrath thing to him, and him and his buddy both liked it, and they picked me up. So I signed on with Wicked Publishing, and got my first Kickstarter going. That didn't work out, so I switched over to Indiegogo, got successfully funded, just recently fulfilled on that, and I'm rolling with Chapter 2.
Cool. So when you sat down to write it, you definitely knew you wanted to write it as a comic book or a graphic novel, not as a prose novel.
Yeah, that's more of my it suits my style better. I can kind of visualize and write down the panels as I see them mentally, but getting me to sit down and do a wall of text is like pulling teeth for me. It's not a pleasant experience.
So did you were you able to work well with the artist, or are you the artist for that matter?
No, there's actually two artists I work with. Drew Smith, she does the concepts and most of the cover work. And then we picked up, she was originally slotted to do the page work, but after we did the Kickstarter, her schedule was just too booked, and she didn't feel like she would be able to produce the pages in a timely manner. And then we picked up Emilio Utrera, and he did the page work for the first one, and he's doing the page work for the second one. And he has a lot of sequential art and comic book experience, so he was kind of the missing ingredient that we needed for the project. Gotcha.
All right, well that's cool. And a lot of what you have to write when you're just a writer now, you're writing art direction. I mean, you've got your dialogue boxes, but you're basically saying, this person looks like this, and they're expressing this emotion, and somebody's flying from this direction. Do you get to that granularity level, or do you just kind of say, on this page, we go from here to here, make it happen?
I do it by panel. Like I said, it works really well for me because I can see them in my head. A lot of the compliments I get from the first chapter is that it flows really well, and I think it's just how I just visualize and write it down. Emilio doesn't speak English very well, so when I write for him, I try to keep it simple as far as the details per panel, and then he just kind of copies and pastes the dialogue because he also does the lettering.
Okay. I'm seeing a lot of that where people are working with artists from Brazil or from the Philippines lately. And I don't know if that's an Indiegogo specific trend or if it's, the mainstream artists are coming from there as well. I have a feeling it's because the page rates are cheaper and because we're all kind of working out of our own pockets. In fact, I know the page rates are cheaper, but
it's a little bit of both. You also have a lot of talent coming from over there, and they're more willing to do the work too.
Yeah, they definitely are. Well, let's pull the page up here and take a look at what we've got. This is Wrath Chapter 2. So I'm going to assume one of the tiers down here is going to be an opportunity to get Chapter 1 so that people can catch up if they're new to it.
There's a digital. We did a digital catch-up tier, but right now, if you wanted a physical copy, you can. And I put a link on the page. You can go straight to my publisher and order one and have it delivered within a few days.
Oh, excellent! And speaking of links, we have a link on the description below that will take you to this Indiegogo page if you want to get in here and back it. You've got 8 backers so far, 25 days left, $311 of a $2,500 fixed goal. And this is the first 25 days. I mean, I'm sure you can extend it for another 30 if that's what you wanted to do, right?
Yep, that is the option. If for some reason we don't make the goal, then, I push to get this thing done. If it doesn't work out, I just keep trying.
So what is Wrath? Is it a character name? Is it, because it's not The Wrath, it's just Wrath, so it's more of a concept title.
It is a concept title. What it is our main character Doug had a very traumatic and abusive childhood, and he has all these emotions that he's been hanging on to that it's never been quite resolved with him. His life has been better. His mom left his abusive father, and he's had a pretty good life, but that feeling just still sits in there. And then through a series of events in the first chapter, he ends up getting beat up, his bike stolen, and he just kind of goes home and crashes. And as he's asleep, this creature emerges from him and goes out and finds the guys that hurt him.
Oh, that's kind of like the Spider-Man Venom origins, where Peter Parker would crash and the Venom would go out and do its own thing with his body. But this is, I guess, separating from his body. In fact, it looks like there's a pretty good shadow image representation of it here. This is Doug, and this is the Wrath that escapes him, showing up in the shadow here.
Right. It takes on this canine type form. There's a little bit of a Easter egg on where that came from in the first chapter, so I'll leave that for people to find. But yeah, it is separate from him. His body stays in bed while this thing goes out and finds the guys. But right now there's official name for it, but I want it to come out through the story.
Okay.
We affectionately call it the Rage Puppy.
Is it dependent that he be asleep for this entity to come out? And if so, is he stuck asleep while it's out?
And that's one of the big questions we're going to answer in Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is focusing on his relationship with his best friend, Nicole, and how they're going to work together to kind of figure out what's going on with Doug and what he can do, basically. Okay.
So let's look at some of the perks we got here, because I am digging this artwork. I really like that style. It's sort of I don't know who I'd compare it to a lot of the covers I've seen for things like Amulet, a lot of the Scholastic graphic novels I've been seeing. It's definitely that kind of a style.
So that image you're looking at there on the right, that's a custom art piece just for this campaign that Emilio did for us. So we're incorporating that into some neat perks. Some of the perks like that one, you'll get because we have a variant cover, so that'll be a standard and variant cover, and
Okay.
then you can get a sticker of that artwork as well as a 8.5 by 11 print.
Oh, very nice. And this is the showing up here in the $35 featured tier. This is where you can get the Chapter 2 digital and the standard and the variant. Wow. Okay. And the print and the sticker. That's the $35 tier there. And 2 people have already claimed that. That's a good bundle. I mean, you're getting 2 comics plus your digital comic to take with you anywhere, and a print. So that's
Yeah, I throw the digital onto every tier. I think if you're backing me at any physical tier, why not throw in the digital?
yeah, because digital is cheap to distribute.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know why more people don't do it.
And you can get just the digital copy, of course, for $5. Because if you're just getting the digital, you want to make something out of it. Of course, it's put all the work into it, and that is as it claims there, just the digital copy. You get immediate shipment, of course, as soon as everything's done. And is this this is the cover we used for our thumbnail artwork here? So
right,
is this the actual cover?
That'll be the standard cover. That's the one that will be available after the campaign. So if you just like this one better and you just want a standard copy, that's your go-to.
Okay, so as soon as you're wanting a standard copy, you're looking at a $10 buy-in. That is that's astonishingly cheap, actually. I mean, what is this? 2 pages or something? Because your standard Indiegogo is at least $25 for a comic book.
Yeah, and I actually, we'll get to that one later, but 25 will get you the standard and the variant copy.
Okay.
And it is 34 pages.
That's a good binding. It's almost thick enough to be square bound, isn't it? Or are you just going staple binding?
We're going staple binding.
Okay. Either one works.
The overall goal with this is the second chapter is we want to do 6 chapters and then do that trade paperback.
Sure. And of course, when you're talking about a 34-page comic book now, it's all story. There's no advertising. Not like your 24-page comic books that you get at the at the comic shop anymore. You gotta skip those advertising pages. Yeah, $10 for standard is excellent. The digital catch-up. Okay, so here's where we got the digital chapter 1 and digital chapter 2. Okay, so you get both of them for 10.
And then we also added, just in case anyone wanted to catch up and just wanted to get the digital through our campaign, any of the physical tiers, you can add it as an add-on. It's just a $3 add-on to get the digital.
Excellent. Here's the variant one where you get the digital copy and the variant copy, $15. And what's this? One of each. Okay, this is basically like the featured one, but without the print and without the sticker.
Correct. So that's the $25 buy-in.
And here's a much larger image of that second cover too. By the way, I do love this artwork style. It's very proportional, very clean.
And that's our concept artist and cover artist, Drew. She did that one. The variant cover is done by an artist that we did an art contest for the first chapter, and she was one of the entrants, and I liked her work, and so I basically tagged her to do that variant cover. Her name's Rosalind Summers.
Okay, so Rosalind's doing the standard cover, and then the variant cover is the one with the silhouette.
The silhouette is the variant, and that's the one Rosalind did. My concept cover artist did the one that we're looking at here.
Okay. And yeah, I love this silhouetted head here, where you're actually looking out into the forest, into the wilderness, and looks like she's obviously looking up something to help him, or does she even know that he's got an issue?
At this point, she knows he's got an issue, and we kind of captured a little bit of a scene where she is looking up some information to try and figure out what's going on with him.
All right, so if you want to get one of each of these things, it's $25. But honestly, for $10 more, I'd go for that print, because that print was gorgeous. Now we're getting into the pricey stuff. Okay, got to have something that's got extras. This you get the digital, the variant, and the T-shirt. And this is this is the T-shirt with that really good artwork though too. So
Yeah, we took out the background. We felt it looked a lot better with just the front image there.
it does, it does. I don't like T-shirts that they're trying to reproduce a comic cover and it's square. It's or rectangular. It's literally the cover. That gives it a whole new dynamic appeal to it, I think.
Yeah, and the nice thing with if you do back the T-shirt tier, once we're funded and we're closed out and we get the funding, I actually have a merch store that I can just put the orders in and have them sent straight to the backers.
Okay, that's a good deal. It's one size, I'm guessing, or do you have to specify?
Yeah, you'll be able to if you select that tier, there'll be options to select the size that you need.
All right, and then the Works package, $80. This is where you're getting the Chapter 2 digital, standard, and variant, plus the print, plus the sticker. So this is the $35 tier above featured with the T-shirt thrown in, and it's $80 this way. So it's pretty much just $45 more to get the T-shirt for this one. I'm guessing all the T-shirts are going to be black because you wouldn't want to have trust people with a different color scheme.
Yeah, just keep it simple. Yeah.
I want it in forest green, but that'll bleed out everything that you. The cameo. This is $150, and you get to be drawn in, right?
Correct. Or you can have your original character, or even a family member. Dealer's choice. We did a few of these in the first chapter. That's actually a page out of the first chapter and features Adobe Kroger from the Mythoverse.
Oh, okay. And this is, you're going to get yourself drawn in, and you'll get your digital copy and your variant copy.
Correct. And then I added some add-ons there in case people wanted some of the other things. So if you wanted the T-shirt, you can add it. If you wanted the sticker and print or standard cover, you can basically add those for an additional cost.
I see a lot of people going with stickers nowadays as an extra perk, and I think that Sticker Mule has done a lot for that because they're cheap and they're quality. And this is where I go into shilling just a little bit here, although I'm not selling anything. But we do have
Sorry,
Blast stickers.
You're breaking up a little bit.
I was going to mention we have the Critical Blast stickers that we've been getting from Sticker Mule, and we've been giving them away to anybody who wants one. They're 3-inch holofoil stickers, and you can get one of those by sending a self-addressed stamped envelope to Critical Blast at 1097 Presswick Drive, Belleville, Illinois 62221. And you'll just have to rewind that if I took it away too quickly, so you can get it back up there. Let's get back to looking at the tiers that were on here.
Sorry about that. I didn't catch any.
Am I breaking up on you?
Yeah, I kind of broke up there and I didn't hear any of that. It might be on my end, but I didn't catch any of that last bit.
Okay, I'm hearing you.
I think you were saying something about a sticker.
Yeah, I was showing people the sticker. I'm going to hope it went through, and because I can hear you okay, and as long as you're not breaking up, I'm going to assume that we're broadcasting okay. You might have had an internet issue with your sound there. Fingers crossed that that's what it was. One of a kind. Now that sounds interesting. What do we got here? This is custom art created and colored by Emilio Utrera. Shipping. So this is a page of art.
Correct. That is something that he did one of. He went in and colored it, and it'll ship directly from him to you. So we threw that in there because he offered it up, and he's been very helpful in helping us get the funding for this comic.
All right, that's very cool. Now, so there's only one of these because you don't want him to be tied up doing that when he's doing a comic book. And it is coming from Argentina. Now, there's no comic on this one. You have to add the comic in as a tier or as an add-on.
Yeah.
This is just the print. And it doesn't say what size it is, but I'm going to assume it's your standard page size. I mean,
I don't have the dimensions yet. I should follow up and add that in.
Well, this is all very cool looking here. Again, I really love that artwork there. And this creature behind him now, that's a better picture of, I'm not going to say the Wrath because that's a Batman villain.
The Rage Puppy.
The Rage Puppy, yeah.
Yeah, that's one version of him. I don't think I have a lot on the covers on this one, but he was featured a lot in the first chapter.
Okay, so how graphic does the horror get with Wrath? I mean, is he really rending people into blood and guts, or does he just scare them to death and they leave him alone?
There's some light mauling in the first one. We're starting off slow, but we're building up to stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, you're not eviscerating people completely on panel, but would you say it's a more of an all ages horror, or is it more towards the PG-13 kind of thing?
I would say it's around PG-13. Just part of the content and some of the graphic nature. There are going to be some deaths and maybe some scenes where there's some deceased bodies and the like.
None of them will be women, will they? You won't have him kill any women.
Not that I'm planning on, no.
Okay, because you can't do that. If Boba Fett has taught us anything, it is that you cannot shoot the female people, even if they're bad guys. So if you're going to kill people, make sure you line up a bunch of men.
All right.
I'm saying that to poke fun at all the silliness I've been seeing lately online.
I saw that tweet too, so I know what you're talking about.
At this point in our evolution, we're nothing but monkeys with car keys. I've come to that conclusion. It's just all downhill from here. But this being your first story, not your first book, everybody, he has fulfilled a book already. So be confident that he can do it again. Where did you get the inspiration for the Wrath here? Because it reads very much like the high school revenge fantasy. God, I hate these guys. I wish I could just go to sleep and wake up tomorrow morning and they're dead.
It's the original idea, the spark, so to speak, is a bit interesting. I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, and I was kind of walking and contemplating, and it was this weird thought, like, my body is doing all this stuff that's hurtful and harmful to me, and I had no clue because I'm not awake, I'm not conscious. And then it kind of switched over, like, what if my emotions could kind of take off on their own, and what would they do? And anger was one of the first ones that came to mind, as that kind of drives us to do things that we wouldn't normally do. And I just kind of built on that. I work in the criminal justice system, so I took bits and pieces and inspiration from the things I saw around me working in like a family violence unit. So there is some, like domestic violence themes and stuff like that. And I really wanted to kind of portray the struggle of the victim and what they have to deal with after something horrible happens to them. And a lot of people have come out and said that they really like that aspect of the story, to show that even though, our main character is carrying this stuff, it doesn't necessarily truly define him. It's up to him what he wants to do.
Yeah. We got Ebi Canales in the chat tonight. Thank you, Ebi, for coming in. Appreciate you stopping in and talking with us here. The theme of this whole, split personality thing, and with Doug, it's not really split personality. It's something leaving his body, but this is, it's a very ancient kind of trope. The first thing that springs to mind with me is Robert Louis Stevenson's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where, Jekyll would pass out or pass away, his consciousness would give over, and then Hyde would come out and do all the things that, were his repressed emotions, which with Jekyll's case were these repressed rage and repressed lust, that you would just go out and act criminally with them. I'm pretty sure that the Rage Puppy isn't abiding by any kind of a code of justice. So there's probably going to be some kind of hunt on for a rabid dog or a serial mauler of some kind.
Kind of. We're it's going to get wrapped into something else. I don't want to give too much away about that. But part of the reason that it just didn't, go in and just maul and eviscerate these two guys is just kind of Doug's inherent nature. Like he's inherently a good person. And that comes with how his life turned, how he met his friend Nicole, how he has this stepfather that's everything his biological father wasn't, and that's kind of helped it shaped and mold him into who he is now. And I want to show how that's affecting his choices, compared to some other people that didn't have that or decided to go a different route.
Gotcha. This is 6th issue, so this may be something that's too far down the line, and it may be something you don't even want to reveal now. But with him having at least that amount of control over the actions of the Rage Puppy, is he going to get to a point where he can call upon it at will? Or
that's a lot of the emphasis that is going into chapter 2.
Okay. So
we're gonna see how he figures that out with Nicole and how if he can control it, how much he has, that kind of thing. So,
all right. So everybody, we want to remind you the link to this Wrath Chapter 2 is in the description below here, and for no good reason, I'm going to hit the reload on the button here because I want to see that something happen. But you know what? Once again, we have been completely ineffectual and useless. But we will keep trying.
Sometimes it doesn't always come in on the live show too.
Yeah, and plus it's a Saturday night. So Saturday nights are all right for fighting, but not so great for streaming because people go to other channels other than us. It's like I saw like 5 notices last night of different people saying, "Hey, I'm going to have a stream here at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock," and as soon as Ethan had a stream, Ethan Van Sciver started streaming, everyone said, "Okay, Ethan's streaming. We're not doing anything." It's almost like we're going to promote our pilot episode of this new superhero show, and then suddenly finding out that they're going to run the Super Bowl without announcement. It's like, no, we're not doing nothing. So this, so my next question, I guess, about your creating comic books is why did you go crowdfunding? Is it because of the people that you already met who you presented to were already crowdfunding, or was it a choice you made in?
It's basically I don't have the funds to do that myself. Wicked's still a small publisher, so it's not like they have the funds to just give me to pay my artists. But we've got other titles, like Jack Irons, Movie Man. Ebi's got Decimators, but he's already done with that, so he's not crowdfunding that one. But there's a lot of new and upcoming titles, and since we're a small publisher, it's either crowdfunding or Patreon. And crowdfunding just made the most sense to me.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing it, and we've had the Jack Irons folks on here to talk. We've had Ebi on here just last week talking about another project that he was on, and he's getting ready to move on to yet another project. So,
he's in high demand. He's a very busy guy.
Yeah, he'll be the next John. He'll be the next John Malin to come out of the comic book. I almost said Comicsgate, but I have to be careful because I never know that I have to recognize that not every Indiegogo creator is a Comicsgate creator. And, if you start saying Comicsgate and somebody's like, no, don't say I'm Comicsgate creator, because that really, that could affect my audience. So I don't know where you fall with that or not. That's all up to you.
Yeah, that's up to me. That's something that I don't feel like I have a right to tell people what they should do or how they should create. So if that's the route they want to go, that's fine. But I'm just here to make comics, and that's a little bit more political for me. So I just focus on my craft.
I gotcha. And I don't blame you one bit, because I find that lately, especially since like 2016, for some odd reason, every movement, whether it's political or comic books or grocery store selling or whatever it is, gets defined by its lowest common denominators. I mean, as soon as the worst person possible of anything does something that shows that they're the worst person possible, they've done it in the name of their movement and they represent all of it. And I hope we can move past that at some point.
Yeah, it's very counterproductive, and I think it just kind of destroys someone else's hard work as well. Because there was like a true and intent purpose to something, and then it just gets dragged through the mud by somebody who has no agenda but their own.
Yeah, I was told today, I guess, that criticalblast.com, the website, which is, the hub of everything we do here, not just the book publishing or the YouTube interviews we do, but I was told that we were a pro Comicsgate site. And I was like, yeah, but okay, yeah, we're pro Comicsgate. We're also pro DC Comics. We're also pro Marvel Comics. We're also pro Dynamite Comics. We're kind of pro comics. If you're making comics, we're going to talk about it. And, if you do something that's newsworthy, we're going to talk about that too. So I don't think that you have to be one and not anything else. And I think that everybody in all corners is trying to do that these days. If you make a stand anywhere other than for yourself, then you've bought into, the whole. You have to. You can't just go a la carte. You have to take the entire cafeteria bar to your table and just say, "Yeah, this is what I am now."
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what it seems like. You can't just be like, well, I want this, but not that, and that's why I just kind of stay away from the labels in general. I just want to be myself.
Your label is Wicked Publishing, done by Scott Kysh. That's all the label you need. Well, you need the Wrath label on there too. So
yeah, that's a good one to have.
Get that one on there so people know that they want to what they're reading. And again, we want to remind everybody that the link for Wrath is down in the description. $10 buy-in. I think it was $10 buy-in. Let me double check. At the very minimum, very minimum is obviously PDF. My minimums always start with I got a comic book in my hand. That's just my personal minimum. So the very minimum buy-in for getting a book is $10, which is outrageously unheard of in crowdfunding. But it's becoming more popular, I guess, because I had a couple of them do that, and I was hoping that crowdfunding would finally get to that point, because for the first year I was like, yeah, these are cool, but there is no way in the world I'm going to be paying $25 to $35 for a comic book every time it comes out.
Yeah,
it's
a bit steep. I do want to mention that the variant cover is something that's only available through the live campaign, as well as the stickers and t-shirt and print. So it's something we did on the first campaign with the variant. So the number of backers I get kind of determines how many of the variant we print.
Right. Now, and Wicked will keep the book in print, the standard copy in print itself, right?
Correct. Like I said, if you wanted to catch up on chapter 1, you can go to wickedpublishing.net/wrath and you can order yourself a copy.
Yeah, we got to get the head honcho of Wicked on here sometime and just talk about their company in general and get all their titles promoted.
Oh yeah, he would love that.
We'd love that too. I mean, we've had Ralph Tedesco on here to talk about Zenoscope. Wanted to get the guy from Dynamite on here, but like the day before I was getting a line into his office, everything blew up for Dynamite. I'm like, yeah, a while. They're busy. But I'm trying to think if there's anything that I'm missing that we should talk about with Wrath here. And you would know better than I would what I've glossed over because I'm working in ignorance. I do that. This is my show prep. I have somebody on the show. Great. Show up 5 minutes before the show. Make sure that you have a sound check. And then I'm going to ask all kinds of questions because if I don't know anything, I'll have questions. But you do say it's a 6-issue series. That's going to take 2 years, 3 years.
It just really depends on funding. One of the things that I want to do is if anything that I get over my goal goes right into the next chapter. With me, it's a passion project, so I want to keep it rolling as quickly as possible.
Sure.
Which is kind of why I had such a quick turnaround on the crowdfunder. We had some issues with our publisher's printer early on, with fulfillment on the first campaign, and then the whole COVID thing hit, which added further delays. And while I was doing that, I had some extra funds from the first one, so I got my script in order for chapter 2. I got some cover work, concept work. So once I had all my printing and shipping under control, I got Emilio started on chapter 2. We've already got 10 pages done, so we've got another 24 to do.
All right. Now, what did you I'm going to look at the page again here, but not bring it up just yet. You got a $2,500 goal. Is that what you had on the first issue, 2,500?
No, Emilio kind of gave me a deal on the page work since I was first starting out. So his costs have increased, so that's why we have a little bit of a higher goal. I think it was 1,600 on the first issue.
Okay.
So we're hoping that we've got return backers and some more interest. And like you said, I've shown that I can do it and get it done, and to my backers, which is half the battle nowadays.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because nobody wants to throw money into a pit and not get anything back. I know that when I go to my Indiegogo page and I look at contributions, I'm like, how come I got 3 pages of contributions and I haven't sent any money out in a long time? And I'm scrolling down, it's like, wow, when's that ever going to come out? Because I am sort of like the guy who just gives money to Indiegogo and then forgets that I funded something. One day I'm going to just get a bunch of packages, I guess, and it'll be like New Comic Book Day right on the front door.
And that's something that I tried to do, especially since I hit all those delays, was put those updates out so that my backers were getting the emails, or they could go to the site and see what the status of.
Yeah, updates go a long way. They go a long way to keeping people forgiving if you're late and engaged in the process.
I think what also helped is I got the actual comic done early and the digitals out ahead of schedule. So they knew that I had it and I wasn't just sitting around waiting to,
everything else was printed.
Yeah. Printing
stuff. How quickly did you find that one fulfilled? Did you have to go the full 60 days and under the wire, or was it like?
I think I did it. It was a few days short of 45 days, I think, for the first one. Okay.
Is that pretty much on track with what you're seeing on chapter 2, or?
I think it's a little bit slower in the beginning this time. I've had a lot of people express a lot of interest in it, but I think it's middle of the month, and with not as many people working, I might see a big uptick once we hit the beginning of the month and people start getting their paychecks.
Sure. But if we get another COVID check, by golly, there'll be all kinds of comic book money being spent. Because I would love to get another one of those. I've got a bunch of things I want to fund they're on my list, and I will get to them. But all right, so I just refreshed it again, and no, it didn't move. Gosh darn it! I'm failing at my job big time here. I've got to get back into my live streaming mojo here. For a while there, I was like, everybody came on, got like at least 2 or 3 bumps. I'm like, yes, I'm doing something. I'm contributing to the industry. But I'm sorry, I'm just letting you down tonight, Scott.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, just being on the show, I'm sure I'm getting my project in front of a whole new audience that maybe doesn't even know about my project.
3 of them.
So far, but like we said, people come back and watch the streams later.
They really do. I mean, people come in, they'll find the channel because they want to see my Harlan Ellison interview or something else that we did with Mountain Monsters. And then the rest of the interview stuff starts popping up, and they see it that way. Plus, I promote everything out on eBay the next day so that there's notice that, hey, this video is finally back up. Go catch the replay of it. And I like to see, if I invite somebody onto my show, it's because I'm interested in what they're doing. I think that they're doing something worth talking about. It's not, I'm just not out there looking to have somebody on the show just so that there's a show. Because if I think that there's like a questionable story, or I'm looking at the artwork and I'm like, yeah, that's like a step above Cynical Man, and Cynical Man had a better story. No, I can't promote something that I don't think is any good. So it's getting harder to find guests now because I'm putting those restrictions on myself. But at the same time, there's a lot more competition out there.
Yeah, there is a lot more competition, and glad I made the cut to be on the show. So thank you again.
Well, you're very welcome, man. So we're looking at probably 60 days to get the full funding on this, and we're just stating in faith that it's going to get fully funded. So that will take us to the end of September. You're looking at what, a November distribution of product when it comes through?
Yeah, I think we can do that. Depends on how busy Emilio is, but once I get him to task and have the funds for him, he's very quick at what he does.
All right,
and
now
he does it well too, which is very nice.
Do you have all 6 of your issues plotted out as far as, you know, you're ready to give Emilio script number 3?
I don't have them actually scripted out yet. I have the general outline done, but I like to kind of take my time and let it stew a little bit before I put them out. But I have started on chapter 3, so if this starts funding, then I'll get to work and get that one done so that we're ready to go.
But you got like an outline, because you know it's 6 issues. It's not like in your head and only there. That,
yeah, I have notes.
Always good to have notes. My publisher always says, I want to see the outline first. I'm like, okay, I'll outline it for you after I write the novel, okay? But no, it's like, so I give him the outline because he wants to see that before he cuts me my first check. And then I ignore the outline and I just write the book. It's like, okay, I got a map, but you know what? I know I said I was going to drive Route 66 to California, but I'm going to get on the interstate here for a little bit. All right, well, everybody in the chat, and we thank you for showing up here. And if you're catching on the replay, obviously we're glad that you decided to stick through to this point. Our guest has been Scott Kysh, and he is the writer on Wrath from Wicked Publishing. This is being crowdfunded through Indiegogo, and the link for that is in the description right below the video here. If you are intrigued by what you've seen tonight, we encourage you to click on that link, check out some more of the artwork, and engage in funding this one. If you would like to help out Critical Blast, the easiest way is to go to criticalblast.com and just check out the interviews and reviews that we put out there. Doesn't cost you a thing. It's all advertising driven. We're happy to have the traffic. If you do have to have, you know, your hands on some merchandise, we are also a publishing house, and our latest book, The Devil You Know, just came out earlier this month, and you'll see people getting it on Twitter now. They're putting out their tweets. 370 pages, 20 short stories by 20 different authors about encounters with the devil. That link is also way further down in the description. Hit Scott's link first. He's the reason you're here. The rest of it's just boilerplate. So, Scott, we're going to let you get back to your evening, and hopefully you can hook up with another more productive live stream show here to get Wrath out in front of more eyeballs than what we did for you.
Well, that's that, and like I said, I'm glad to have. I'm glad to be here, and thank you again. I'm glad I made the cut, and thank you for the time.
All right. We will talk with you soon, and best of luck with this project. I want to see it get funded by the end of September, guys. Thanks again for